Hello, so let's look at what an exception is. You've seen these before, and maybe to begin with, make sure that we understand what we're looking at. I'm going to make a program, and I'm going to intentionally make an error. So I'm going to say print 5 divided by 0. This should drive an exception. So when I run this, we get a 0 division error. And this is, as you're coding, you'll see these errors. They start off by saying trace back most recent call last. They reference the file, which is this program file here, exception demo.py. And they display they tell you which line the problem is. And then they show you the line of code that caused the error. And then here it tells you the type of error that occurred. So here we had a 0 division error. So the question is what is an exception? Basically what is happening is when Python runs into a piece of code it can't execute, it creates an exception. And really what an exception is just it's a class object that gets passed up through the different functions that have been called to date, and then what happens is that if there's nothing that catches the exception in your program, and it surfaces up to the operating system, then what we get is basically an unhandled exception, and that's really what this is. This is an unhandled exception. Nothing did anything with it, so we display it where we're running the program in the operating system. Now we'll see with this module how to actually catch those exceptions so they don't show up, where the user sees them, because this is usually not a great user experience seeing these exceptions handled. So normally we like to catch them. So we can look up in the documentation by searching for Python exceptions, and in here it gives you some examples of exceptions. We can also find that there's an entire list of them. Let's see, syntax errors, exceptions, and here under built-in exceptions, we have base exception, and there's a whole list of different types of exceptions. Usually, other than the base exception is called exception, and all of these these ones that are errors, all inherit from this base exception class. And you can see there's a lot of them: reference error, overflow error, recursion error, syntax errors, system error. The most common one we saw was probably that divide by 0 error, but sometimes we can get type errors. And so we'll see how we can use that to our advantage a little bit. But basically an error is an object that gets created by Python when it can't execute your code, and it needs to tell you that it couldn't do that. And it does that by creating this exception. And if you don't have any code that handles it, we see it show up in the operating system. Thank you.